Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forge Alliance Forever. We are back on the Legend of the Stars Championship casts in Group C. The first game we're casting from Group C is from perhaps the favorites, pre-tournament favorites to qualify from this group. We have Farms, Isekai-chan, and Blodir. The other two players in this group are Zlo and Turbo 2. So actually quite an interesting group, I would say. So obviously, well, it's harder to judge Zlo and Turbo, I would say, because Turbo maybe just hasn't as much experience. Obviously, he's not been around quite as long as the other three. Zlo can have very varying performances, I think, in my experience. So can be a very strong player, and sometimes he is not quite as strong. Farms did very well last year. Blodir obviously is doing quite a bit of practice as well, so, and has an extremely high ladder rating. So they're probably the favorites pre-tournament. So we'll see how they do in this best of 3 series. First map is Whitefire. Now this is a map where you have to get your build right, and actually this is quite strange. Farms has not sent an engineer to usually you send the very first engineer here on an attack move from the factory to grab the reclaim, and now he started it, but he's actually delayed his engineer and instead has managed to get enough reclaim around the base, just a few small bits of ice to keep him from stalling, and that means he should have more power more quickly. But they're also making mass extractors, which you can avoid doing on this map thanks to the juicy wreck. He's taken over 1,000 from it now. We have a second wreck here, which is very important, and it will be a battleground in the future. So Farms doing quite well here. Is he gonna immediately rush to transport? Yes, he is, after an air scout. Adding a few more P-gens so he doesn't completely stall while making the transport. The transport, well, he probably will stall while making the transport, honestly. We'll see though. No, he actually won't, because he's building a lot of stuff and not just assisting his transport. Making full use of all the adjacency here. And yeah, this looks very, very carefully prepared, I would say. Looks very carefully prepared, which I'd love to see in tournament games. He has 3 Zuis and a tank to go with his engineers. So he's going across the map right now. Blodir with his air up. His Inti has been distracted by Farm's air scout. And also a naval factory already complete for Blodir. And a frigate. So definitely behind in the naval game slightly is Farms. His transport will not be stopped, however. Second air Inti may be coming out of the factory, yes, but the front island is surely going to get wrecked by some of this. Will he drop everything in one place? I hope not, because that would definitely be a little inefficient. Would be a bit of a waste, in my opinion, to drop everything in the same location. So he's not going to do that, of course. Farm's too clever for that. Drops an engineer and all the Zuis here, and now his transport is under attack. He should be able to drop though. He needs to drop on the land if he wants that tank to survive. If not, he can cut his losses and just drop the engineers on the water. But he actually does get the drop away, saves the transport, potentially wins air there, although he his Intis didn't do what he wanted him to. Will his engineer get far enough away to avoid being killed by that tank though? This is a very nice opening from farms, but you can see he is suffering in that there's 3 naval factories. Blodir has a more total mass by quite a distance. Only the 2nd naval factory going up for farms now. And air control is not exactly a solid thing. He has 2 inties versus none. 3 inties versus a bomber, in fact. Blodir has a bomber. He wants to deal with... Yes, you see, here's a problem. He has the ACU, which can deal with this, or it can deal with this, but he has to decide. So instead he makes a bomber, which surely will die after 1 pass. Oh, it doesn't even drop. Oh, he did drop, in fact. Oh, wow. I'm surprised he killed that engineer, actually. Only got 3 bombs away from the 6. So every bomb had to hit to actually kill that engineer, and they did. So well done, the Cyber Bomber. That will mean that Farms doesn't get to build several more mechs on this island. Maybe even a factory here. Although maybe a factory here wouldn't be too great. Frigates will kill all the Zoos as they just did here, for example. This Zooey should probably stay on the island as a bit of a guardian. This engineer has been locked and dead. But we have another drop now. The same transport, the initial transport which was saved, is now dropping engineers into Blodir's expansion, and a 2nd transport has been made by Farms to drop in his own main expansion. Somehow there is an engineer here getting mass for free, although Blodir seems to have several more frigates. Yeah, most of them are at home, unfortunately for him. He has 9 versus 5. This is a frig war map. It's very build focused because of the huge amounts of reclaim available outside your main base, right on your doorstep. Using that mass effectively in the opening few minutes is key to winning. And I really like Farm's plan, but has it really given him that much of an advantage? It should have. Now what he really needs is to avoid getting snowballed in the Navy, and how that will happen is if he loses his frigs in bad engagements early on, because he does have about half as many frigs. This is very bad if he loses these frigates here and these ones here. Then Blodir can basically control the water completely. And he's now taking his expansion. Made only a few tanks from his base. Made such a sickening number of 2 on land factories though. What is that about? I don't know if that was an overreaction to the drop from Farms, or if he actually wanted that many land factories from the beginning. It's very strange to have 5 land factories in your main base. Quite expensive too. It's interesting that Farms has not left the base with his AC. Usually you would walk to this location, because then, well, you can see this frigate is denying this reclaim. 1 frigate. That's all it takes to stop engineers from taking this mass. Whereas an ACU is not going to be stopped by a frigate. It can stand underneath the water and reclaim 50 mass per second. Right there. So, yes, quite strange that Farms is not left for that reason. Blodir is not worried about being denied his his wreck. It's already been taken by engineers, and because he has more frigates than his opponent, quite a few more, he's not worried about being denied there anyway. And now he's pushing in here. Farms has gone to T2 Navy, so hasn't invested in many T1 factories, although neither has Blodir. But Blodir, with far more frigates, showing that he's had better engagements, perhaps built, well, he had his factories earlier, so they've had a longer time to produce those frigates. And now Farms is under pressure as he tries to get out his first destroyer, is forced to build expensive T1 torpedo launchers. You don't want to have to make those. And if he loses more factories, this could be quite painful. They're not cheap either. He's now paused production of his destroyer to get more torpedo defense up. A naval factory be left on low HP. One dies. Crucially though, only a few frigates were left for farms to reclaim in his base. Most of Blodir's navy has been saved, and he will retreat it, go T2 navy himself, and use those frigates to support his Salems. Didn't want to commit, kill maybe some T1 naval factories, and then leave 8 to 10 frig wrecks for farms to reclaim and turn into destroyers. That would have probably thrown the game for Blodir. But Blodir looks like he's in a very good position now. Farms with no T2 mexes, getting raided in his main island and his front island. Blodir is completely untouched at this point, although he obviously had some difficulties getting his mexes in the beginning. He now has total control of his side of the map, and he has multiple T2 mexes. T2 PGen going up. Farm's only about to start his T2 PGen now with these couple of engineers. Both players with T2 air, but it looks very good for Blodir at this moment. If we can see, oh, he's actually going for T2 submarines as well. 18 frigates and a T2 sub versus 9 frigates and a destroyer. Certainly favors Blodir. And let's see if he can convert this into a win. More T2 subs coming out. T2 submarines are very good versus the Seraphim Destroyer. Seraphim Destroyer obviously has powerful lasers. It has no anti-air. It has quite weak torpedo defense and relatively weak torpedoes as well. So T2 submarines are quite good against them. Cybern ones have stealth. AN ones have a bit more HP and better have they actually have torp defense. Now here comes the first engagement. You can see that almost every torpedo hits from these T2 submarines, and this destroyer taking a couple thousand damage now. And meanwhile, both these T2 subs are alive until the torpedo bombers arrive, and they're gone. Goodbye. And Farms very carefully micros his torpedoes back towards his base, saves them for the next T2 subs that are going to come in. Now his destroyer, however, is getting torpedoed by 5 torpedo bombers, and it's dead. And that is a very painful loss, and his navy is now split in various locations, and he's in danger of losing. Well, he's not in danger of losing this destroyer, except to torp bombers actually. To the navy, versus this navy, he could retreat safely, but he's now lost half his HP, more than that, to those torpedo bombers. And he's going to lose it, actually. He's going to lose the destroyer completely. There it goes. So, both players' navy getting crushed by torpedo bombers at this moment. And Blodir has complete air control. Farm still sending in those torps though. Oh, I think he was aiming for the sub, and maybe some shots may have been blocked by the frigs there. Oh my god. In the main base, I've completely missed a drop. Actually, I saw the transport going this way and somehow did nothing. He's killed the T2 naval T2 air HQ. Didn't kill the PGen somehow. But he has killed a lot of T1 power as well, and mexes. Blodir has lost all of his T2 mexes in his base. And there's still Zuis alive that have full veterancy. And why are there no units to kill them? Now we have some labs, but they're just running away in the wrong direction. Farm still has no T2 mexes whatsoever, and he actually never made that T2 PGen that I wrongfully claimed he was going to make. Quite a lot of reclaim on his side of the map, but he does not have the navy to secure it. He also does not have the air to deny the torpedo bombers from Blodir, but maybe he can win air control back now that he's killed. Oh my god, no, with the last shot. With the last shot, he killed that T2 Pigeon. God damn it, that's horrible. And now Blodir has how much power? Exactly 540 power. Oh. This is extremely painful. Is he... What is the plan here? He needs to pause everything. Yeah, I think he should stop making... Just let the next unit come out and then stop this completely to make power. Looks like he attempted a drop over here. Not sure. But this is a chance for farms. He has bought himself so much time with these attacks that he needs to be immediately... All these engineers should be taking all this reclaim here. Now that he can, his opponent has retreated and allowed destroyer wrecks, many frigate wrecks, some sub wrecks to be taken. Another drop coming in, heading for the expansion, but Blodir has parked his air right there in the expansion. Very good idea. But thanks to the Zuis, Farms doesn't have to get all the way to the island before he can drop. Those hover T1 RDs are pretty nice for that. And T2 Pigeon now is started. He's satisfied he has enough T1. And he does. 780 in T1 power is fine to make a T2 Pigeon, I think. Quite fine. And Blodir is going to be back in this game. And he's still in a fine position. Look at his navy. 62 subs. 7. And a destroyer, 9 frigates. Versus 4 destroyers, 9 frigates. If we look at the mass cost here, 11,500, 12,200. Very similar. But these subs are going to do amazing work versus the destroyers. And still, it looks like Blodir has a few more inties, and so should be able to use his remaining torp bombers. He will probably, maybe he'll go T2 air again, I don't know. Perhaps he'll just focus on making navy, but the T2 air has been great for him already in this match. These Zuis are so annoying. It's really going to kill a T2 Max. Oh, he missed a shot. So he may not actually. Yeah, he's low HP already. It's not going to kill that Max. Which is... Oh, it's a Seraphim. So it has more HP, but it won't regen. So he's actually captured that Max. Earlier on, now there's 2 Zuis going after this Cyber Max, so that may well go down. It should do. They're actually missing quite a bit, which is interesting. Didn't realize they would miss that much. But they did, and now that Max will regen. So... Blodir gets away with that, but... I mean, I think he deserved to get away with that, considering just the outrageous damage he took earlier. That was, you know, the final shot hitting this P-Gen, for example. He is going T2 air again, which I think is a good decision. And another T2 transport full of Zuis. And a T1 transport on the other side with 12 HP. Carrying Zuis to this expansion now. Where's Blodir's radar? He doesn't have radar in his base at all. I don't know how he plays like this. But he does, and this is disgusting. Is he really going to lose the T2 HQ again? Going to lose this Mex again? Blodir is desperately trying to reclaim these Zuis, which is not a bad way to try and deal with them, honestly. You can reclaim them quite quickly. He needs to do more micro, though, to actually He's really just moving around. I take it back. He's not trying to reclaim at all. He's just moving around. There's no frigates coming out of these factories either. They're all paused. So if he comes to the water, he may actually lose the build power on his navy. But no, we've changed targets. The T2 Max is down, some T1 power is down now. Firearms is going for the HQ. I bet he doesn't know about this P-Gen, does he? Oh, now he does, actually. I'm pretty sure he just found out from this air scout. And the HQ survives and will regen from low HP. Very low HP. Meanwhile, Firearms getting put under a huge amount of pressure by Blodir's navy, which is now pure submarine. There are only subs here. He has no destroyers left. He has no frigates left, except, well, he has a few back here. But on the front, it's all pure submarine warfare. And the front island has taken significant damage, losing most of its mass extractors. T2 Mexes, again, Firearms is quite far behind. He has some storages, which is okay. And actually, the left side, that drop did successfully kill both the T2 Mexes that he failed to kill earlier on. And another drop is coming, a T2 transport this time with only 5 or 6, what is it, 6 Zuis on it. And Firearms needs this reclaim, but Blodir is taking it. Some of it at least. Now the destroyer is here. You can see its only job really is not to fight the navy, but is to bombard the land. And needs to move it around to keep doing that, and he can wipe out this expansion. The torpedo bombers come in and take out one of the submarines. Given there's about 15 of them, it's gonna take a while to get rid of them. These submarines are so good versus the destroyers. The destroyers are getting a few kills, but largely they're just taking damage and not giving that much back, to be honest. Now, with a mermaid in here, it would be extremely good. A mermaid is the stealth boat. And the reason it would be good would not be for stealth, obviously, because these things have stealth anyway. It would be for the torpedo defense, which is extremely good. It's the same torpedo defense as Salem has, which is flares at quite a high rate. Oh my god, another drop in Blodir's base. Kills kills the P-Gen, kills the HQ, kills this Mex, although it was only T1. Now he's killing the T1 power. This is outrageous. And finally the Zuis die, and there's very few P-Gens left. Blodir has 400 power again. Doesn't have, he actually doesn't have his Hydro here. Oh, he does have a T2 engineer though. That is very nice actually that he still has that. But for now he's going to be rebuilding T1 power and making T2 power slightly later. Submarines continue to kite away. Now they're getting caught by torpedo bombers though, because the frigates are giving vision. And they've just taken out another destroyer. Firearms has 3 at the minute. Firearms also doesn't have any upgrades on his ACU, who's in the water. If he gets caught unawares by this many submarines, he will die very, very quickly. Cruiser now for Blodir, low HP destroyer. This expansion still lives somehow. Although, there's quite a lot of damage been taken. There's actually a rogue engineer here capturing Mexes behind enemy lines. And all of these labs have done just nothing, really, defensively. They've just allowed their, watch the base die and then killed stuff afterwards. Firearms now walking towards these many submarines. Oh, there's a lot of them dying here, actually. quite a few going down, and the low HP Salem also gets lasered by these destroyers. Oh, there's some very low subs here, but they're not being targeted. Two of them extremely low, 53 and 63 HP, and they get away. But there were a lot of submarines here that have died. You see the many wrecks building up in the waters of this bay here outside of Farm's base, and Blodir could lose this. He still has a better navy, it's no doubt. He has 2 cruisers and a destroyer, some frigs and some subs. But that could change. That could really change with just a few more torpedo bombers. This could get very nasty, and Farms could get back into it. And if he gains control of this area, there's so much reclaim to be taken. Let's see, we have 13k on this one screen here. 13k. 14k in fact. Oh, I see what happened here. We lost another destroyer. There's 2 here. 2 of Farm's destroyers embedded in the ocean floor. Huge amounts of fat on these Barracudas. 1800 mass killed. 1500 mass killed. 3600 on the cruiser is the MVP here. Another T2 transport is heard. This time dropping on the front island, and now dropping on the right. Just build a radar. Build a radar. I mean, the cruiser gives sick radar, but build a radar. You know, here. Like, he's getting dropped so much. Look at all the labs. He's built 30 labs. He still just gets dropped and loses stuff to the Zooies. And now actually Farms is under attack. His AC is now under 6,000 HP as he's getting shot by 2 cruisers and a destroyer. He definitely can't come into the water, that's for sure. He has to run away. What hit this destroyer? Pretty sure something just hit this destroyer. Oh, the torpedo bomber's getting wasted with a bad move order. You can't waste those. Farms does escape, but he's going to take a lot of damage on his destroyers to allow that to happen. And that is a sad reality that he is owned up to. Oh my god, he's going to lose one. Oh, it looks really bad now. Imagine those 2 torpedo bombers could actually kill the cruiser and the destroyer, most likely. One pass from a torpedo bomber would kill either one of those. And now his navy is dead. One more destroyer comes out of the factory. It may be blocked by these T1As actually. Farms calls GG. As he cannot. Losing those 2 destroyers here means he just can't fight this really. And Blodir is taking the reclaim. He's obviously regained power again for what, the 3rd time or 4th time? I think it's 3rd time. Set to rebuild from low power. And there we go. Blodir somehow holds on and wins this. I don't know how exactly, because Farms really put him under extreme pressure from the beginning of the game. But I guess Blodir just maintained the naval advantage, and that was that. If you can't overcome it, then all this damage is really for nothing. So there we go. Game 1 down. Let's switch to game 2 very quickly. So, in between games, what should we talk about? Well, check out Nartec and Postal. Postal making Total Annihilation casts. Nartec making Supreme Commander casts. Quite a lot of them. Casted some of my games. Casted all the Group D games, in fact. All the Group D series. And by all accounts, he's getting better as well, which is good to see. And also, who else? Sesko NZ is casting. Let's see, where is he? What is his last cast? Sesko. He's casting team games. He's casting 1v1s. So check him out. Now, game 2 is on Pizza. Crossfire, Canal, Blodir, and Farms. I know both these players are good on this map. Farms crushed me in the final of a qualifier, I believe, on this map. And on every other map we played, if I remember correctly. But, yeah, let's see how he does against Blodir. Damn. Excuse me. 1 second. And we're back. Something went down the wrong way there. We have normal build from Blodir. First 2 engineers rush to the Hydro. I think this first build was popularized by Ajax in a previous Legend of the Stars a couple of years ago. I think it became the standard after some games he played. Not that it hadn't been done before, but I'm sure it probably has, or had been, but sometimes it takes, you know, tournament games for people to really figure out what's good or to popularize certain ideas at the top level. So Farm's doing something different. He has made many more P-gens. That's the real difference here. 280 power for Farms, you can see. While Blodir has 200. And this is not going to benefit Farms right now, necessarily. It's going to benefit him in the upcoming minutes, where he's going to have a lot more power as a baseline once his transport leaves and his build power leaves. So he can actually afford quite a bit more stuff. A quicker second air factory, for example. Needs to leave though. He's trying to make sure his engineers don't get fucked by the transport, because the Seraphim transport is a horrible creature which really only wants to screw up your transport rush by forcing engineers to travel to distant locations to actually board and bump into each other on the way. But somehow they avoided getting trapped between P-gens and bumping into the ACU and all that sort of stuff. If there is one tip, Seraphim transport rush, do not ever try to load engineers while they're next to your ACU. It's a horrible idea, and it will perhaps get your transport killed. Farms is going straight for his opponent's island. Blodir is playing as we might expect Blodir to do. He's just taking his side, and he's not being aggressive. There's a fresh, clean slice of pizza here that It's just out of the oven, and he doesn't want it. He's just gonna take his own. He's not even looking at his opponent's slice of pizza. And this may be a big error from Blodir. Every decision has to ultimately be justifiable. So if we ask Blodir why he didn't go for this island, what reason could he give to say it was a bad idea to go for this island? I don't know. I don't know what you would say. Because now he comes back home, loads his transport up, scouts, and sees that his opponent has this island already. And now what are his options? Well, he drops 3 engineers here, and he's going to try and proxy war to get his own base back. Meanwhile, farms can drop here for free. There's no air here, there's no bomber, there's no scouting. And farms is just simply ahead because he took his opponent's side when it was freely available. And now farms can drop. Well, it's interesting that farms dropped all of his engineers here. That's sort of a... I mean, I would leave 1 on the transport, I guess. These 4 mexes, getting these faster, getting a factory up faster is going to be very helpful economically. But dropping all the build power here is more solid, I would say, in terms of making sure that this island grab is successful. And it definitely looks like it will be. Zui's coming out, searching for the engineers that will have been dropped. Air just freely flying around, giving perfect vision to farms, so he will have no trouble securing the top left side. He has now dropped this side afterwards. Of course, he drops the right side of his base before the left side, because it's very unlikely that Blodir's going to go this way. That would be an amazing split to see. Would be 2 islands here, 1 here, versus 2 islands here, 1 here. I would love to see that, but it's certainly unlikely. Always going to be an unlikely scenario to result. Immediately, a couple of factories go down. Again, he has to be ready for a fight for this island because, well, for one, this has been denied before even a single factory gets built. And look at that. He spots the transport. Excellent air scouts here. Patrolling, searching for the drops of Blodir. Farms has vision everywhere. A lot of scouts, so well, they've kind of bunched up into the same location here, but he has found this transport. Maybe he's lacking vision here, that's certainly true, but in general, he has quite a few air scouts out on the map, and he's trying to use them as best he can, and is using them quite well. It sounds very secure now. 20 tanks, air is parked here as well, which is aggressive, but this kind of thing could backfire in that you lose air control. Inties appear in your radar right next to you and wipe you out 10 versus 6 or something, and then maybe you're under pressure from air, but it doesn't look like it's happening. Nice bomber. It's going to kill everything here. Very nice bomber. Think of how demoralizing that would be if you see this happening. You're already down an island. This is your chance to try and get a base up, and then 5 engineers die to a bomber. At this point, Blodir is not thinking anything other than, I'm probably going to have to play a game 3 in this series. He has some Wagners. He's gone quickly to T2 land to make Wagners. I don't know if that's really good in a scenario like this. I would think you need something a bit more drastic. Wagners are fantastic units on this map. Difficult to stop. Now, they did get nerfed before this tournament, so they lost some speed under the water. They lost some HP. But still a fantastic unit. For the purposes of raiding on maps like this with water to travel through. But they are liable to die to 2 on land. That's certainly true. They have very low vision radius, so they actually can't really use their weapons very well. You can see this huge disparity So they're quite good for raiding mexes that you already know are there. Buildings you already know are there. They're certainly good at that. But if they get caught by tanks and stuff, T1 units, then they will die pretty quickly, honestly. Their range is no good to them. And there they go. So Wagner's not doing what's necessary. Now the drops start coming in from the left side across the water directly into the main base, and look how ballsy he's being, just running, flying all the way through the island to the center of it, and could potentially do some damage here. He's slowed down the production of this second PGen, that's for sure, but a PD goes up and that will kill all the tanks in a few seconds, resulting in very small amounts of damage, I would say, to Blodir. But Farm's in such a comfortable position. T2 air now, only making his T2 PGen now. Mainly been focused on T1, focusing on preventing any possibility of losing one of his 4 islands. That's really the key for him. Focus on the 4 islands, make sure that's completely secure before you worry about teching and economy, because you can delay those because you have so many more T1 mexes. You're going to have access to a lot more reclaim. Certainly, there's so much reclaim on this map. Having 4 islands not only gives you the massive advantage in mexes, but in rocks. Blodir looks like he may be winning air control, but he is not going to be. This looks just doomed to fail. He needs, I think he needs T2 support factories in terms of a sort of proxy thing here. He needs to stop wasting the Wagners, that's for sure. If he could build up some Wagners, and he could build up Wagners in the water here, and then perhaps use them to maybe protect his proxy, get his proxy going. It's so difficult though. I mean, he's really, there's not much to be done here, honestly. This is, you know, these 4 versus 2 island scenarios require a bit more aggression, a bit more cheese than just delayed proxies and some T2 land. Oh, the ACU now comes out of the water with the gun and stealth, hoping to cause some damage, slow down any further drops and attacks onto the main island. Don't think there's really any hope of regaining the island with simply a... Oh no, the air getting wrecked by flak, and even T1 anti-air static is attacking, but obviously not likely that a single ACU with the gun is going to retake this expansion. Now if he had a Seraphim ACU with T2 and gun, or a UEF or something, it's more likely, certainly, with the build capacity, but just the gun and stealth. All he can do is some damage and force reaction from farms. Now we see a bigger problem actually arising for Blodir, and that is the Navy. Farms can go immediately to T2 Navy now, and he actually is doing that. He's seen that there is no Navy whatsoever, no frigates, no production for Blodir. So time for T2 Navy and cruisers all the way. Maybe, I mean, it's unlikely he'll need to make any destroyers, because I mean, there's no frigates to kill, there's no hover tanks, obviously, because we have a Cybern player matching up against him. So here we go. Looks like air is relatively even. Blodir wasting some air. His air force is all attacking at different times, so it's getting bad engagements. So maybe farms will actually win air here because of a certain bad attack order there. And Blodir, it just feels like Blodir is playing like he has 3 islands versus 3, but he actually has 2 islands versus 4. So it's going to turn out a lot worse than it would conventionally. Many gunships out now. They will quickly deal with the Wagners, but not before they... oh, wait. That Wagner just missed. That Wagner just missed with its rocket. So, yeah, it looks like the gunships won't be in time to save the T2 mechs. Blodir investing in torpedo bombers, but not investing in navy. And the first cruiser is out. The Wagners are getting torpedo bombed now. And they're still dying to T1 land as well. And the shores here, this proxy has been annihilated. And Blodir sends his air in directly over a cruiser, and he gets it completely wiped out. That was painful. Still, the Wagners, you can see the power of the Wagners still managing to deny many mexes. And gunship raids also doing some damage. There's quite a few hover tanks building here. We could see a raid come across the water. He has to avoid this gun ACU though. That is for sure. But we're at +1. I think we're going to go with +2 so we can move on through this game. I don't see any way for Blodir to really come back in this game. I think it may be a typical problem for Blodir where he doesn't move to the options that are necessary to win a game that's in this sort of situation. He's plays too standard, too normal quite often in my opinion, which is strange because when he played team games so often he would use many different options, different cheesy strategies to win games. But in 1v1 he's very conservative, I would say. Not to get political or anything. I doubt he's... well, yeah, not to get political or anything. Very conservative gameplay. And Farms now entering the base with some of these... oh, a lot of these powerful Seraphim gunships. He's actually going for the ACU, is he? With all these tanks and the Zuis. Oh, these watch him get melted here by the Vultus. And taking the artillery in the face. Dodges a lot of it though. And that's one way down the game. This is the brute force approach from Farms. And I quite like it. Oh, Blodir gets a veterancy. But it won't be enough. There's still so many gunships alive. 2000 HP. 1000 HP. And boom. GG from Blodir. Oh, looks like he lost a pigeon here. Well, excellent start. That was quintessential build order victory, I would say. I think it was, well, let's not be too hasty. I mean, certainly dropping here from Farms far superior to Blodir's drop here, but also I think Farms just played the opening better. He had much better use of his air for spotting future drops. He found this immediately, the initial one, and the secondary one he found as well. And used a bomber as well to deal with this very quickly. And yeah, just a much better opening from Farms, and Blodir really never had a plan to actually get back into the game after this proxy really failed completely. I think he did not have a plan. My advice is comm drop. that would be my go-to, or try some very aggressive drops. Try immediately going for TMLs in the back of the base, or Well, a lot of drops into the main base with artillery or tanks or something. Something that really has the power to change the game, that's not just a small advantage here, small advantage there sort of play. That's not going to win the game back for you in general in 4v2 island scenarios. But yeah, very nice game from Farms, well played. And the series is 1-1, so we move to the deciding game. Right, which we have downloaded already. Windows sounds. They're from the video, not from your PC. Don't worry. Okay, here we go. Game 3. And what map are we on? It's Open Palms. Okay. Now, one thing we learned through this tournament is what maps players are good on, because there's so many maps played, such a variety of maps. I must have played 15 or 20 maps, I feel like, in this tournament, and played some of them multiple times, and you really get to tell what where your strengths lie. So it would be interesting to do some sort of analysis on say what size of maps players generally do better on, prefer to pick, this kind of stuff, what style of map they're good on. And I wonder how many players actually know what exact maps they're the best on. Now, this map, Open Palms, who is particularly good here? Hard to say, really. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I'm particularly good here. Blodir is a fine player here. I don't think it's one of his best maps, probably. He's certainly a good player here. Farms, I'm not sure. I wouldn't put it down as one of his best maps anyway. Not necessarily. I don't think these kind of land maps are his best. Not to say he's bad on them, but we'll get to see now. It should be interesting who has a better build order, because we've already seen that Farms has some nice builds, and it looks like both of these are the same. Actually, these are the exact same build. Look, they have the P-gens in the same place, just inside the mexes here, inside the mexes in a straight line. 3 engineers in the ACU, 3 engineers in the oh my god, the exact same build right now. Factory, factory, engineer defended by a mantis, engineer not defended by a mantis. So Farm's going slightly greedier by getting another engineer before the tank comes out, and that's a good decision against Blodir. Does Blodir make labs? The answer is no. Basically no. And so Farms is taking advantage of the passiveness. Passivity is definitely not a word. The passive general character of Blodir's early game. There we go, that's good English. And Farms is walking around backwards now. Backwards towards his base to get some more reclaim. Oops. We have 3 land factories. Where's the air? Where is the air? Well, they're both going for a very similar build order, which involves late air. Actually, Farms has gone full land. There's no air factory planned. And that's a rhyme that I did not intend. But let's see how quickly Blodir cops on that there's no air from Farms. This is going to be crucial. Of course, he does not have any bombers planned because he went so late air. Why would you ever plan a bomber from the get-go? But he needs to be scouting very quickly and seeing that there's no air here so that he doesn't get overrun in the land game and can get some powerful bombs away, because air is certainly very strong on this map. Bombing some of these engineers in the base can slow down the production. Bombing the engineers heading towards the back base, towards this expansion, like this guy may actually die simply to land, despite the fact that farms is completely land-based at the moment. So farms has, well, let's look at his base if we're going to say what he has. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half factories versus 1, 2, 3, 4.5 land factories. Well, not even a half. And an air factory. So that's the advantage that farms has gained, but he is still getting raided. He has successfully saved this engineer, which is quite good, but he's not saving the guy at the back, who is getting scouted down and mantised with extreme prejudice. Thams at the front, Mantis and a few more of them defending the front line, but 3 Mantis now behind the base. The engineer at the back goes down in a brutal show of force. Blodir is completely safe and sound at the back here. It looks good for farm. It looks good. Sorry, not farms. Blodir. It looks very good for Blodir. If we see expansions on the side, we have a couple. We have what, 3, 4 mexes now, combining both the base on the side. Meanwhile, well, Blodir has the same. One more now. Farms is heading forward and has a nice name on his ACU there, aimed at a caster, I think, for this tournament. All in good fun. And Blodir still has made no use of his air whatsoever. Farms now has air of his own. Blodir has 2 inties. He has made a transport though, so he has made some use of it. He did make a bomber for whatever reason, but he has made a transport, which is fine. And now he's going to be trying to drop the top side. He has no defenses on the left. He's left it completely open to attack. Doesn't even have a radar, doesn't have PD. And there's 2 tanks have just now attacked his expansion. I hope they start attacking the same mix so that they actually manage to kill something, because there are units heading this way to try and defend. Also, this engineer is quite vulnerable and has only started his factory, so should the tanks move, which, let's be honest, we should be sending tanks further in, I think, rather than killing mexes there. But there you go. Farms is now retreating his ACU as he's found Blodir's right in front of him. And Blodir starts the gun. I like it. Farms walks away, and it's quite possible that he's walking away to get an upgrade. So Blodir immediately starts his own gun upgrade. It's going to be perfect in this scenario because he is head to head with an enemy ACU, and upgrades win the day in those scenarios. If you're head to head against enemy ACU, just try and find the time to get an upgrade, and you're going to be in a fantastic position. I mean, especially the gun, obviously, in this scenario, I would say, because we're going to heavy T1. I don't see any T2 coming just yet. We don't have any T2 mexes or anything. It's going to be a unit heavy game, but look at this raid. Farm's just so far behind. He has 380 power somehow. That's nothing. He's just forgotten to build power. There's nothing else you could say about it other than he's simply forgotten. And now he's getting raided. Unfortunately, his beefy mexes and buildings have tanked a lot of damage from the Mantis, and now they're actually potentially getting away. We need some move orders to try and trap them. He needs to not move directly after them, but try and cut them off here by moving to the left. He's now stopped, so they're going to run past, and there's no PD at the back to save the back expansion. also no power whatsoever. He's trying to make the gun now that he's finished this hydrocarbon, but again, just simply not enough power to make that. Blodir should be closing in on completion of his gun. There we go, 90 something %. And it's time he's bringing some arties. I like it. The arties have been mixed in, and oh, he's gonna go for stealth as well. Just, oh no, he's not. He's actually not gonna waste the time because he doesn't have engineers nearby, and he's stalling mass, so it would take far too long to be worth upgrading. So it's time to move. Farm's only halfway in his upgrade, and again, he does not have power to really rush this. He's trying to, but this is painful. He also has a much smaller army here. He's bringing all of his units from the middle, and they're getting stuck on this hill here. This looks like traffic in India. And the gun will perhaps complete. There we go. Gun finishes at a perfect time. Back expansion dies at the wrong time, because it's always the wrong time to lose your back expansion. And now Blodir actually is scared now and is running away, but he's going to try and get a run by going, and he's going to be successful. He does lose all the units at the back. It's quite sad, but the damage is worth it. And now there's an army for farms trapped at the back of his base, which is useless for anything really, except maybe catching this follow-up raid from Blodir. So Blodir pushes forward, scares farms into rushing an upgrade at minus 300 power, and also gets a run by, and now is regrouping his army, and he may be able to get a kill here, but even if not, he's very unlikely to get killed himself. We have hoplites coming out. T2 land has been achieved by both these players. T2 PGen coming up for farms, and no T2 PGen planned yet for Blodir. And he's in a very dominant position. Also has the HP advantage against the UEF commander, and the hoplites also doing some damage. Oh, don't get wasted. For some reason the AC was shooting T1 units instead of the hoplites there. Not sure why. Blodir also, it should be noted, has both of the plateaus on the side. Now killing the final factory here, and this little jut out in the peninsula is, well, not peninsula, it's plateau. It's very nice for putting artillery in. You can deny half this base here, maybe even the factory. Blodir microing quite nicely with his units and his ACU. Farms now on 5,000 HP. And the hoplites doing decent work, keeping the units, the T1 units at arm's length. The mongoose are making their way across from the main base. T2 PGen just finishing now, so perhaps air could be an option for farms. Perhaps he can go for some kind of air snipe, win air control. It's a possibility, perhaps. It seems remote at this point, though. But I don't see any flak coming out for Blodir, and Blodir actually being a bit dangerous, but oh no, it's not actually that dangerous. At worst, he gets a draw, but I don't think that's gonna happen. The hoplites being forced into frontline combat is a bit sad. Oh, nice overcharge there. And look at this screen blocking any possibility of the ACU getting trapped here. Nice movements from Blodir, but also quite nice for farms to be trying to bait in some units to get good overcharges. But now he's found himself back in range of the ACU, and he's not going to get away. And he is dead. GG. And the first best of 3 now that we've covered in Group C is gone to Blodir 2-1 versus Farms. And this is quite a close series. I think the first game was probably the most competitive. The second game, quite a comfortable win for Farms after a superior opening. And in this game, somehow Blodir did more damage with land while farms went pure land at the start. Blodir actually made an air factory, did very little with it, and still managed to do more damage on the land in the opening. Got in behind, killed the engineer at the back of the base, and then also made quite nice moves afterwards. When he already had something of an advantage, he did exploit it to get more units in behind, did some run-bys on this side specifically, and overall Blodir just played to a better level on this map, there's no doubt about that, and deservedly wins the series 2-1. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. We'll cover many more games in this tournament. We'll get to the playoffs before the year is out, I swear. And yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys. Have a good one.